All right, it's time to get real. President Trump meets with Putin in Alaska, and now he's hosting today Zelensky in Washington, D.C., and European allies at the White House, all while the left media is losing their minds. They scream appeasement 1 second and then ignore that appeasement is exactly what they've quietly supported for years. Hypocrisy? You bet. Let's talk about it. Okay, now we know Friday that Trump and Putin met in Anchorage, Alaska, on Friday, where the optics looked more pageantry than peace. They rolled out the red carpet for Vladimir and all that stuff. And reports later revealed that Russia offered territorial concessions, freezing the front lines where they are, and the Donbass withdrawal, and a ban on Ukraine joining NATO in exchange for peace. Now, this thing that Russia doesn't want Ukraine joining NATO is old. It's old, and this comes from almost 30 years ago when the United States said, that NATO wouldn't creep any further east to the Russian border, and all it's done is creep east to the Russian border. So what Russia wants is NATO not to be involved. I mean, not to be involved in Ukraine. Okay, well, if you are going to talk about this stuff, you have to sort of look at it holistically and you go, well, that makes sense for Russia to ask for. It just does. Because some of us who aren't stupid understand that there are people who are advocating for their own nation. Well, that didn't stop Trump from calling it big progress. I don't know how big a progress it is, but at least they sat down at the table, right? They actually sat down at the table and they were actually talking. Even as the critics, including Democrats and some European leaders, warned, it's a danger of appeasement. Okay. So talking to them at all is appeasement, which means that the only alternative is war. So I thought the left was against war. I thought that the left was saying that Donald Trump was going to start World War III. Well, he was going to start World War III in 2016 too. All right, so left-leaning media and the Democrats howled Putin's victory, the betrayal of Ukraine, appeasement, just like Chamberlain. Yet many of these outlets quietly supported the cash for arms without punishing Moscow for violations like Minsk, thus laying the groundwork for Putin's aggression. And guess who's cheering now? The very same pundits who shrug at Russian atrocities, until Trump tries to negotiate. Double standard. If it's Trump, it's evil. If it's quiet inaction, it's realism. So Trump lashes back, labeling factions as fake news and sick, even when after Senator Chris Murphy as a lightweight. The idea is that if you'd rather there be war and the death of thousands of young people, Ukrainians, Russians, if that's what you'd rather see, then you need to do a little introspection, don't you? Well, don't you? You do. All right, this morning, August 18th, Zelensky arrived in D.C. with some European heavyweights, including Macron, Starmer, Merz, Van der Leyen, and NATO's Rutte. I guess that's how it's pronounced, to push for NATO-level security guarantees to block land concessions. Okay. Now, when they say security guarantees, what they really mean is that they want some guarantee that the United States will offer their blood and treasure because they're not going to. What they're terrified of is that the United States is going to decide not to offer their blood or their treasure to any more of these endless wars. That this idea that y'all gonna have to solve some of this on your own is just anathema to them, and anathema to the political left here in this country, and the politically left media in this country. It's insane. So fighting is raged on. Russia launched drone and missile attacks, slaying civilians as diplomacy started. This was not the time for vague promises or trade-offs. Trump, however, doubled down. He said, Ukraine should stop or drop their NATO bid. Stop it. You're not in NATO now. And the only reason they want NATO now is for more money to continue this war. That, in the humble opinion of your host, they can't win. They can't win. They can't. They should ditch Crimea and peace would be fast. They're going to have this is the reality of life. And it's a sad reality, and it's just a painful one. So often the smaller entity will have to bow to the larger entity. They will. Unless they can bite harder, strike faster, which Ukraine on its own cannot. Now, here is the candle-scented truth. The left wants Ukraine to fight and to die forever, forever, forever. But only when they benefit politically. Now, Trump's offering a real off-ramp. And these people are beside themselves. So ask yourself, is this about saving Ukraine and Ukrainians, or about saving a narrative?